That's better. What is going on, everybody? We're back at it with another episode. Yes, you see it right. We're talking Chi versus Chakra. So, do me a favor if this is your first time coming in or repeat comebackers, whoever you are, hit the like, share, and subscribe. It will help me out very much because the Chi says so. All right, guys, let's get into it. So we've been going over martial arts stuff for about a good month now. Off and on, not directly. I like to do one episode a month about martial arts. So if David shows his ugly face because he's gonna be wrong, I'm calling his ass out right now in public. You're fucking wrong, Black David. Chakra versus cheese. What is the difference? A lot of people don't know the difference. Is it any difference actually, or is it none? That is a question we're here to answer. So I'm gonna be straight out with all you guys. I know more about chakra versus chi. That is my what I was studied under with my instructor, Master Ray Kazaka. So before we get into that part, let me do something before I forget. Two things. Number one, if you hear me, see me, and everything's good on this world of the YouTube, let's put in the chats. Yo, what's up? Simple. Let's keep it nice simple. And if you're interested in coming up and have this conversation with us, well, of course, I'm gonna drop the link. And you guys know the rules. You guys show your face. If you don't want to show your face, at least need to see it in the background. If you just want to keep your mic on, that's fine. But I have to see you're a real person. You're not some clown. And I'm sorry. So, let's get into it, like I said. So, where do I start? Where do I end? So, we let's get the basics out of the way first. Number one, what is chi? What is chakra? It's an energy field, energy from inside of us that built the ancient martial artists. I'm talking about ancient, and like 1700s and back. They believe that you had a power inside of you that you control. Think of it as, I don't want to say Naruto because Naruto is like hand signs and that's part of it. But I don't want to say is like you can summon a frog, for example, nothing like that. Yo, Gash, what's up, my man? Welcome back to another episode. Hey, if you want to join us, the link's down. Come on, let me see what you know about Chi and Chakra. If you don't, that's fine too. So, if I had to say anything about Chi versus Chakra, what is similar to, from anime or a cartoon or something, which one I come close to telling you that I know of, is this is gonna be a hard one trying to diagnose it. I would say Dragon Ball Z is the closest one. Okay, let me debunk some things here. What I mean by Dragon Ball Z, I'm not saying you can become a Super Saiyan. I'm not saying you can do a Kaioken. I'm not saying you do a Spirit Bomb. Can you do? That's a question. Can we do Spirit Bombs? How cool would it be that? Maybe not a Super Saiyan, maybe a superhuman kind of thing. Like, how Super Saiyan has their, Super Saiyans are theirs, a Saiyan's version. How about we do like a superhuman for the humans? I'm blubbing on my mind. Yeah, let me get back to it. Anyway, so how real is it? That's really up to the person to believe in. Anything's real if you believe in it hard enough. If you believe something is real, it could be. If you think something's fake, every time I go stream, I don't know why it does it every time. If you think something's fake, something's gonna be fake. It's simple. There's no rocket science behind it. It's whatever you decide to believe in. So, all right, let's see what my buddy here says. I have no knowledge of any of this. I heard of it, but I have no idea. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not the first or the only one. If you're not in the martial art community and educating yourself about this stuff, you're not going to know, and that's okay. This is where I come in. So I'm going to use right now to get Paul, Mr. President, and David, aka Black David, to come on. I'm going to give you a little history lesson about it right now, the best I can. So, disclosure: Paul is not a practitioner. He's knowledgeable, but he's not a practitioner like myself and Black David. So, these two powers, internal powers. I'm gonna base again, like I said, on Dragon Balls as most I can to give you guys an idea. So the Kaioken. The Kaioken is obviously that part is myth, cartoon, not real. Now the Kamehameha way, energy beam, Kame, whatever, right? And throwing it. That I would say is probably the closest we can get. Using the strength, be stronger, kaboom, punching, kicking. Yeah, that part I'll give you. Yes, it is closest thing to it. Flying, possibility, yes. Real, I doubt it. Maybe back in the day when they were the real masters, but how real is it? How real? That is the question of the day. But yeah. So, the question of the day now. What is myth? What is true? What is canon? What is fucking bullshit? That is the hardest thing to any of this to understand. Which one do we will sit here and say, hey, this is true, this is bullshit. So, the flying, possibility. I think back in the day when their minds were more pure and they could control it, that they had all this stuff online, the junk pollute your mind. It was more pure. I think. What's going on, Mariana? Welcome. Back then, I can see it. I can see it more actually happen because they were pure. Really think about it. By pure, I mean they didn't poison their minds with all these stuff online. They didn't poison themselves with all this different on TV. I can see it being somewhat more realistic at the time. Because some of them just trained all then back in the day. Think about it. They had no TV. They had no cameras. They had no internet, no MySpace, no... I said MySpace. Yeah. My age is showing finally. Yeah, they had no Facebook. They had no TikTok, no Instagram. They were just in the woods hunting for food, training most of the day, living a very quiet and peaceful life, and that's the best thing to do. So, I also think that before we answer that, let me get him in here. Mr. President, welcome.
What's good, sir? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear nice and clear. What's going on, my brother?
Cool. Now just ripping and running. So had to have a little date night with the missus. Just got back, and
I actually saw the pictures you guys posted online.
That play. I'm like, where was this place 40 years ago? Right? I look. I don't know if that's ever been done anywhere, but I'm thinking this is a brilliant idea. So the place I'm talking about is this arcade place, and it's they got a few locations, but it's basically you go in, you pay one price, so you can pay per hour, which I think is like $10 for an hour, and then I think it's like $2.50 for every half hour. Like after that, you can play any arcade game that you want, any pinball game that you want. They have about 4 or 5 gaming consoles, like sofas with gaming consoles. So you can play MLB 2024 if you want, Madden football, have 4 or 5 guys on the couch playing the game together. For $28, you can play all day, no restriction, and you could just have at it. They got places if you want to do like parties there and whatnot. But I'm thinking, where was this years ago? I mean, all those quarters and whatnot that you dumped in. If you can go to a place, and back then, if you paid $5, I'm talking about the 80s now. So again, $5 or $10. And you can be in there for hours, don't have to worry about coin up, continue, or whatever. Just keep playing as long as you want. I'm thinking to myself, that's a brilliant idea. There's 4 locations that I'm aware of in the area. The name of the place is called Yestercades. Okay, Yestercades. So they got one in, where they got place that? So they got one in Red Bank, Somerville, Westfield, and Metuchen. And again, brilliant concept. My wife and I, we were basically, it's like a main street down in Metuchen. So we went there, we had dinner down there. We got some ice cream and whatnot. We're just walking, checking out all the local shops and everything. And then I see in the window, I'm seeing Pac-Man and Galaga and Centipede and all these. I was like, what is this place, right? And then I go inside. They let us look around. I took a couple caps or whatever. And I'm like, this spot is like, again, 40 years long past due. If they could have gave us that kind of deal a while ago, and like I said, in the 80s, $10 was a lot of money. So again, $10 play all day. Again, that would have been a gold mine back then. So I was very happy to see the place, and it definitely had the 80s retro feel in there. And I just got a sample of the games and stuff that was in there, but it was brilliant. They had pool tables up in there. Pretty much anything from that era that you could think of in there was great. So I would definitely highly recommend checking it out. I'm definitely going to go back there and invest some time in. And my wife saw some games in there. She loved Miss Pac-Man back in the day. It's like, imagine just going there and just playing. So game over. Oh, I'll just play again. So yeah.
The girl I'm seeing now, she actually has a Pac-Man machine in her house. And she called me out the other night. She goes, you know what? I can beat you in Pac-Man. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. Game on, girl. Game on. Like, I know I'm a gamer. You're not. And so you might regret that one. So the only thing I'll say with the coin thing, you have to understand also, a lot of people don't, is the coin is that's how they made the money back in the day. If you had charged only $10 or $2 afterwards, let's say it was like maybe $20 for a few hours, they're not gonna make that much money like they do now.
But again, it's per person though. So again, like how many you went to an arcade back then? How much money you took? Maybe you might have put in the coin machine. You might have got like maybe $5 or $10 worth of quarters, and then you just spread those quarters around based on what you were doing. Now, some people came in there, they only had 25 cents or 50 cents at the time. So really, but it's across the board. If you went in there and you only played a couple games and left, you're still going to pay the $9.95 or whatever for that 1 hour. But if you want to keep playing, then again, it's pay per. Again, it's any game you want. Because again, when you used to go in back in the day, you had those quarters. You had to be very selective. So you would be like, yeah, I'd like to try that game over there, but I only got a couple quarters to spend here, so I better play the game that I'm used to playing. So whether it be Centipede or Millipede or whatever the game was, Tempest or whatever the game was back in the day, that's what usually where you spent your money, and that's what you usually got good at because you just didn't have the time or the currency. Even with the home consoles back then, again, you had to be very selective. Your mom had to give you $20, $25 to get a game cartridge. There was a sports game, there was an action game, there was a whatever. What game do you want to play? You better make up your mind because you're only getting one game, And so here it's like you go in there. Again, they had all those consoles, and you could literally play anything you want. They had a whole shelf with all these CD, with the cartridges and what the CDs in there. You put it in and you play. You just sit down and just play. However long you want to play for the time that you want to allocate for, and it's per hour. Or like I say, if you want the whole day, $27 all day long, and you can hang out in there. So I would never do that. I don't have that kind of time to waste. But I'm just saying, for that kind of package, I think you're gonna more than even level out at the end. You're definitely gonna make a lot more money. Because again, you're giving people variety. So let's say I might want to play a pinball, hang on the pinball for a minute, and then I might want to jump over to millipede or centipede for a minute, and then I might want to shoot around a pool, and I might want to sit down and play a console. You can do all of that within the time that you're there. Again, it's brilliant. I mean, I'm like, man,
Okay, here's
this.
a question for you now.
Yeah.
I'm about to drop the challenge out to you. All right. Have you ever played the game called SSX?
No, was it an arcade game or is it?
No, it was a PlayStation 2 game. And,
No.
So, if you did ever play it, you didn't. All right. But if you did, let's say pretend you did, I would have called you out right here live. Called you out and said, I'll kick your ass in that game any day of the fucking week.
And you know what we would do then? We would find find a yestercades. I would put the gauntlet down. We'd go down there. We spend that money, whether it be $10. If you're really good, then you might be in there the whole day. So again, $27. I'll meet you there. If they got the game, we're gonna play it all day long.
Right now you got me interested here. All right, name a game, any game. Name a game that you think you can beat me in.
I have no idea. I was never that good. I think I got good at Galaga, where you kind of got to the point where once you got over 1 million, it changed back to 0. I got good like that at one point where you just flipped the score and that was it. But there weren't that many games I got good at because keep in mind, again, economics. I didn't have a lot of money growing up. So again, if my mom or my sister or whoever gave me $2, I had to make that $2 last because that's all I got. I mean, I may beg them for another 50 cents or whatever, but that was all I got. So I never got good at a lot of these arcade games because I just couldn't keep pouring money into the game. I didn't have cash flow like that to keep it going.
So my dad used to just give me $10, $10 a week. But he's a sneaky little fucker. I remember that. I said that for a reason because that $10 was my lunch money. But I could have done whatever I wanted with it. If I didn't eat, I was starving until I got home.
That's dedication.
Yeah. So, but my mother, behind his back, used to let me pick one game or one movie a week to rent from Blockbuster. Yes, I fucking said I am that goddamn fucking old. I used to go to Blockbuster. And you got a problem with that? We can take it outside.
Nah, it's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
You're a Blockbuster kid too. Don't tell me you were.
No, I'm saying that's perfectly. I mean, as I said, it's. No, I agree with you. That was the time we were in, and then after that was Redbox. After that, so hey,
I never really got into the Redbox thing. I'll be honest with you. For me, it was, what was it? Blockbuster, Netflix when they were mailing the DVDs still out. And then Redbox was around. I wasn't in it. Then Blockbuster came out with this thing. You got like I think it was like $10 or $15 a month, and you can go to the store, literally the store, and pick one game. Was one game or one movie a week. You can hang on to it long. There's no fees, nothing. It was like they were trying to keep up with Netflix. Fun fact: Netflix offered Blockbuster to buy them out, and Blockbuster said, "No, we're not buying you guys. This is never gonna work." Guess who got the last laugh now?
Yeah.
So, Paul, I know you're not a practitioner, but you're very knowledgeable in the martial art community. Can you agree with that, at least?
Certainly, I am a what you would call a fan, if you will. So again, I'm not a force user, but I respect the force. I'm like who is the guy from that Star Wars? What's that?
Han Solo? You talking about?
No. From what was? Oh, geez, and it's one of my favorites. Also, I'm having a brain freeze right now. Rogue One.
Okay.
When it was Ewan, Donnie Ewan was he wasn't a force practitioner. He didn't have the force per se, but he worshiped the force, if you will. You know what I mean? Like he believed in it, even though he didn't necessarily have force-like abilities. He was a very talented martial artist, of course, but he wasn't a force user in the sense that of a Jedi level, but he had that. So I guess I'm kind of that mind. I respect the martial arts. A great deal. I admire certainly the artistry of it, certainly the practicality of it, the discipline of it. I just was never in a position where I could really take it in. In fact, that was one of the reasons I never did, because I knew if I couldn't devote myself 100% to it, meaning devoting several hours a night to it, to take it on, I didn't want to dishonor the art. And so I never took it up in a long time. So that's if I had a regret. Well, I can't even call it regret because I don't think I could have changed anything. You know what I mean? If it was like that, the level of dedication that I would have wanted to give to it. It's just life circumstances didn't allow me to do that. But certainly for those who have taken that journey in the martial arts, certainly I have the highest respect.
Is it an arcade game or is it?
No. And I do understand what you're saying that, and I respect what you're saying with that. But Paul, you know it's better than anybody. You're not too old to pick it up now, dude. I know a lot of people at your age are picking it up.
Oh, sure. And it's still on my bucket list. But again, I'm still grinding. Like I said, I was grinding until I just got on. I remember just before I came on, I said, look, I need 15 minutes because I literally had to drop something off around the corner, and then circle back. But who knows? I mean, now that certainly one of the responsibilities that I had, for the care of my parents, now that's coming to an end. Certainly the funeral's next week. So the fact that that's coming to an end, that may open up some space, both time-wise as well as mentally, to allow something like that in to adopt something. So again, if the opportunity presents itself where I could really devote myself to it in a way that honors it, and you want to learn something from it. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's like people go to the gym. There's people go to the gym for years and never get in shape because again they're doing, but they're not necessarily implementing. They're not focused on what they want to do with it. So again, I respect the arts too much to not, make a commitment to it. And then like anything else, you have to find what works for you, I think. And this is part of the discussion tonight. Now, again, there's some things about the martial arts, you're going to be talking about chi or chakras and things of that nature tonight that, it has to also meld with me spiritually as well, because certainly that is certainly a very important aspect of my life. I know some martial arts really don't, care about any of that stuff. Some are so practical that they don't, go into those ways. But other martial arts, other disciplines do put a lot of emphasis on a lot of those spiritual aspects. So again, it's got to be something that I think suits me. But at the same time, now one thing I was told by many martial artists is that if you want to become a good martial artist, the only way to get good at it is to take on different martial arts. Like the guy who joins one martial art and that's all that they know, they're going to be in a very limited space of capacity. But
that
to
is
only
a
get
square technique, I call that. The reason
Yeah.
I call it a square technique is you don't think outside the box.
yeah
So that's what my instructor. I had to go literally when I was a brown belt, a third-degree brown belt, and I was going for my black belt. And part of my black belt test, me realizing it, and I had to go out for a month to learn and train under a different dojo. Not because we were going to steal moves or anything like that. He just wanted me to learn a different style, where I was coming from. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yeah.
And when I came back, I had a different appreciation now of our
Yeah.
style.
Yeah.
And I had still respect for his, but some things I felt there were flaws. There were holes in the technique. I was like, wait a minute, I can do this, then do this and this, and then this, and that would be better.
Mhm.
And I used to, and during class, he looked at me like, "You sure you're a brown belt?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm a." I'm like, "But, this doesn't work," because I was talking already like a black belt. That's what threw him off. Make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
So let me ask you a question. When you say spiritual, what does that mean to you? You said this is a spirit. Oh, you take on the spiritual of the martial arts.
Right. Well, again, the idea. I mean, obviously, I'm a Christian, just as you are.
Yeah.
And so there's certain things that, as a Christian, there's certain beliefs, there's certain philosophies that may come into conflict with my own, with my Christian beliefs. Mm-hmm. So, certainly, I don't want to become an idolater, if you will, with if there's certain spiritual practices that I don't need to be, there's a lot of dark stuff out there. There's dark magic. There's a lot of dark arts out there. And, how would those align with my Christian walk and practice? Those are things I have to measure. Like I said, some martial arts disciplines don't have a strong spiritual foundation to them. Other ones do. And so, again, I have to weigh that when I consider, do I want to get into this or do I want to get into that? Like Krav Maga, for example, I think is pretty much, it's just a defense technique. It's not a major, thing. I'm just throwing that out. I'm not, talk about the validity of it, but I'm saying, or boxing for that matter. Now, that's one thing that I may do is join a box. In fact, there's a boxing gym in not too far from me here. There's so I may want to do that, join an old school sort of boxing gym. In fact, it's in this old sort of warehouse dungy place. It's not one of these sexy looking places or what I know Floyd Mayweather's opened up some sort of franchise of gyms or something, but this is like an old school boxing gym. So I may want to go there and just start learning how to box, because I think we've talked about in the past, I think having a strong boxing background, I think, helps you overall in your martial arts. And so, so that might be something that I may want to start with, because that's something I certainly have an affinity for, is boxing. And so that might be a start. And then I might want to incorporate something else, another type of discipline, maybe a jiu-jitsu or maybe, something else. So again, it's finding, because ultimately, and this is what I get from Bruce Lee, it's ultimately about, honestly expressing yourself. That was one of his big expressions. It's like, how can I be, like, me and you were very different physically, right? So how do we find us? For me, I'm longer, I'm taller, I'm 6'3". What would work best for me with the gifts or lack thereof that I have, that gives me, that allows me to not only better defend myself, but also, works with who I am. Again, that takes some discovery. And like I said, so I may try boxing. I may try another martial art of some kind or whatever. I've never been flexible, so I seriously doubt Taekwondo would ever be something that jives with me, because I can barely kick above my my waist. So that might be something that might not be for me or not. But who knows?
So you're wrong there.
Okay.
Flexibility comes in time. So when you come in as a white belt or no belt, depends on the style. That's why I say white belt or no belt. Some styles, they give you to just because you join the karate school. Some says you have to earn the fucking white belt. My technique and my schools, I say school because I taught my own and my instructor. You have to earn the goddamn white belt. It's a very easy test. You usually everybody passes in the first shot. No big deal. Now, so the flexibility comes in time. Like when I first showed you how to do a roundhouse kick, I don't expect you to do it over your head. Maybe lip, like waist level, nothing more than that. I don't expect that, and that's being generous too. But the flexibility comes in time, Paul. You're not going to get it in 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, but you don't believe at some point, again, some people, especially when it comes to flexibility, because there's a physiological component to that. Mm-hmm. Like, if you look at hip structure, if you look at just the way people are designed, not everybody has, like, there's literally bone that will stop you from being flexible. And certain, depending on because, the hip goes into a socket, and that socket changes depending on the person. And so you think that anybody can be a Taekwondo practitioner or do a full split? You don't think there's any physical limitations that a person needs to work with to see that they may not be well suited for that?
Hang on 1 second here. No, I don't, because again, practice, take time. You're not gonna be this person who like Jackie Chan or he throws like, no, it takes time. All this takes time. Always takes time. It's not going to be an overnight thing. I don't think age has a lot to do with it. It's a new person. If you disagree, we can have that conversation right now.
Again, for certain. Now look, I've seen people who've been able to do certain things, but I'm thinking, but you're talking about it takes time to do that. But if you're talking about learning a practical way of fighting or a way of life, if a person, whether that person be flexible or not, if there's another discipline that doesn't necessarily rely, because even with Taekwondo or arts that focus on kicking techniques, especially kicks above the waist and whatnot, if that's not your strength or if that's not your where you be best suited. Because I know Bruce Lee for a long time, he was like, you should never throw a kick above the waist. That's a waste of time in order to do that. So but a lot of those kicking arts like Taekwondo, they do emphasize a lot of those spinning kicks and whatnot. That, again, is it practical at the end? And if that's not something that you have to spend time just getting flexible, to even execute when there could be something that could be more up your alley? Isn't it better to master what works for you rather than trying to basically have a square peg fit into a round hole?
So let's break this down for a minute. Let's go off of the Bruce Lee comment first. Anything over the hip, do you lose power? Absolutely. So let's say this is my hip level. Anything you go after, like say, a foot, 2 foot, every inch you go up, you lose about 5% of your strength. So when you're kicking straight up like this, for example, you're down, maybe you're up to only 5% kick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can say people, oh, they kick pretty hard. Yeah, they are still kicking hard. I'm not denying that one bit. But it's not gonna be as I'm kicking you, like say I'm facing you this way, I'm kicking you like a side kick straight to your jaw. All right,
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be a lot more powerful than kicking you straight up like that. And it really makes no sense. It's a good show. I'm not gonna deny that. Taekwondo is a very flamboyant, flashy style. I will give you that.
Mm-hmm.
So now with the kicks, when I mean kicks, you have to understand everybody who practice kicks mean differently. Your kind of kick versus my kick is two different things. I always call it a 1-2-3 kick. So pretend you know the person's here, all right? Knee, groin. Very effective kick, right? Don't need a lot of practice. You don't need a lot of flexibility.
Right.
Knee, groin. That is the first technique I ever teach everybody in any self-defense class. Knee, groin. They go, why knee, groin? Simple. Knee, he bends over, kick on the groin. You're going to run a fight. Done. You're out. Bye. Simple. I don't care, woman or man. Very simple technique.
Right.
Yeah.
But you don't need to know how to do a split in order to do that, is my point.
Again, a split is more showing off.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So again, would it make sense for someone like me who, even I go back to track, like I could barely touch my toes and I ran track for a year. I'd spent every practice, every session, in practice, working on and I ran hurdles. So you have to be flexible running over hurdles. But again, it's just never been and then when I learned about hip and bone structure, I realized that not everyone is gifted to be able to do a lot of these things. Like if you go to the point, if your hip socket is hitting bone, you can't do anything about that unless you chip away that bone or whatever. And is that worth doing long term? And so the idea is it worth it for me to spend a lot of time in that discipline or work with something that works more with what I am? Okay, so a guy who's not very flexible, but he's tall, he's rangy, whatnot, what would work best for him more so than trying to be, again, work with something that just doesn't fit my body chemistry. So that's the thing I'm talking about. I mean, I think boxing, works well because, again, it's like in boxing, you could be any height or style, but there's no style necessarily. I mean, there's multiple styles in boxing, but it's still boxing. You have a Mike Tyson, who's very short, rangy. He had that peekaboo style that allowed him to get inside and do the work inside. You got longer guys like a Larry Holmes or Muhammad Ali. They use their length, they use their jab. So there's different ways within boxing. A lot of it is, again, for the boxer to find what works best for them in boxing. But to have Mike Tyson fight like Muhammad Ali, that's a problem for me. Or Muhammad Ali to fight like Mike Tyson, that's a problem for me. So I'm saying that I think that there's certain disciplines that I think a person has to find out what their style is. And I think, again, the advice that I got if I took a martial art, to work with multiple styles, to find ultimately what you're trying to do is find your personal style. It's not to be dedicated per se to a particular martial art per se, but can you ultimately find yourself? Like I said, self-expression, as Bruce talked about. Can you ultimately find that through your martial arts journey? So again, I'm not discounting multiple disciplines. But I think there's some that I think are clearer than others. Like I don't think Taekwondo would be something that's worth putting my time in because the majority of the time would be getting flexible enough to execute the basic moves that are in it. Whereas, again, if you're tall, if you're rangy, if you're in the street, if you talk about practical self-defense, doing a whirlwind kick, how practical is that going to be in that situation, trying to learn that when I could have been having that time working on what I'm good at or where my gifts are, where my natural abilities are? Isn't it better to get good at where you're at versus trying to pursue something? Again, it could be if you got the time and money and the resources to do it, hey, I can't fault anyone for that. But if you talk about when you have limited time, I might have maybe, if I do this, let's say 4 or 5 hours a week, maybe say 6 hours a week. Where am I going to spend my time in pursuit of, and for what, and why am I doing it? Is to defend myself and defend my family. What is going to give me the most bang for the buck based on my natural attributes, and how can I maximize those to their utmost advantage?
So, a couple of things. You need, first of all, anybody who's going to practice or wants to practice like yourself, you got to find the right school that fits you. So it's like wearing a pair of pants. You know, you might have to try a different pair of pants, and when you're at a store, see which one fits you correctly, right?
Yes.
Same
but I already know though that I'm a 34 NC. I already know that I'm not going into the 30 sections or trying out on the 30 or the 29s. The question is going to be, is it a 33, 34, 36? You know what I mean? So even then, I'm going to be limiting my scope in terms of what I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm. Well, my analogy I was trying to put out there was, you might try different schools. So a good instructor, a good sensei, is going to find what works for you. Because everybody has their own fighting style. And Bruce Lee has, Master Ray has, I have my own, Master Chin has his own, and so on. Master Rich, all these guys have their own style at the end of the day. You gotta find what works for you. Like maybe a judo throw. I know tall guys, judo throws are the worst enemy for you guys because you have to get down low,
correct,
your hips up, and you get the guy over. So that's not gonna really work for you. But a sweep is gonna work perfectly fine. Or a joint lock instead. You know, a koragaish, for example, a wrist throw. You guy comes over, you grab his wrist, and you flip him. I'm like, oh shit, and like that works. Like, I will always teach you every technique I can. I will show you a roundhouse kick. I'll show you stuff. But I tell you straight, you're never going to use this stuff, like on the street. But
so that's what I'm saying. So what is the practical side of teaching me that if I will never use it? Because again, wouldn't I be taking time away from something that I can really get good at that can be of a practical nature?
Knowledge, you're taking back. Because if you can break that technique down correctly, let's say a spinning roundhouse kick, all right? A regular roundhouse kick is going to be easier for you now. Make sense? You still need to know the technique. You still need to do everything the same way. But it depends on your fighting style, again. Like, you're taller than me. Your style is going to be more reach versus me. I'm coming in.
Yeah, I'm going to use a jab there. If we were boxing, right, I'm going to use my jab. I'm not going to come down to your level.
Yeah.
And you see that a lot of times, even in boxing. Why is the bigger, the taller guy, why are you in close? Why are you reaching down? Why are you bending down to allow the guy to hit you with an uppercut or some other punch? But again, even it even happens with professional boxers. And the coach is screaming in the air, hey, get on your bike, get on your jab or whatever, stay away from this guy, get away from his left. You're playing into the hands of the enemy when you do that. So again, so that's the thing. Even with a boxer, a lot of times they defer back to their natural instincts, even though it may not be good for them. Sometimes you have to be coached out of some bad habits a lot of times, and even the professionals oftentimes get into that once their technique fails. Right. So again, you can go into boxing. Mike Tyson had a saying like everyone has a strategy until they get hit. And a lot of times when you get hit, you go back to that. So if you're just a naturally aggressive person, even though it's in your best interest to box, you may want to slug it out because, again, you just go back to your instinct. But a lot of times it's coaching you out of the instinct to and to do what's right for winning. If you're concerned about winning, then you do what it takes to win rather than doing what feels good in the moment. Because even what feels good in the moment, that guy might be better than you at. And like I said, they say you never slug with a slugger in boxing. You never, or you never hook with a hooker. Like if a guy has a good left hook, like Joe Frazier, whatever, you don't throw hooks with Joe Frazier. Because not only does he throw a devastating left hook, his timing on that left hook is superior to almost anybody's. So you could be throwing your left, he can get to his left off faster than you can and knock you out. So it's always about, when you talk about combat, it's always playing off of the strength or weaknesses of the opponent, but you have to stay within what your strengths are. And so again, I hear what you're saying about the knowledge or whatever, but again, even in the street, How many guys are doing a whirlwind kick in the street or whatever? It's not going to be often that you may encounter that. And again, that might be the one that takes you out if the guy surprises you like that. But a lot of times is that
because what's going to happen when he tries that roundhouse kick, I'm going to knock
he's
him
going
out.
to exactly.
The roundhouse, the spinning, any spinning techniques, a spinning back fist, a spinning hook kick, a spinning roundhouse. This is why I love them and I hate them at the same time. I love them because they look fucking cool as hell. I'm not going to deny that. They look really fucking cool. If you're doing a kata, a form, oh my God, it looks beautiful actually. But in a practical, and I actually won one of my matches like that, believe it or not. The guy was doing a spinning roundhouse kick over and over. He was literally going around and around and around. So he thought I didn't have an opening. But he didn't realize when you're spinning your head, the kick takes a minute to come around. When you from here, then the other one, you have to land one foot to come into the other one. But your hands are here. You're spinning. Your back is exposed. Now, here's a key trick people forget. Your head is exposed. That's one of the key points. And that's an open strike. I mean, like, that was a fair strike. Back is a legal strike of the point systems. I'm spinning. I'm dodging. I'm not really dodging. I'm like kind of do like the tippy tap, going. Okay. Really? That's all you got? I went. Boop. Point.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, and he's taller than you, by the way. The guy was taller than you.
Right.
So they will match you up, get taller, short guys, because the martial arts it's a martial arts. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. So he does it again. I go, clink. I literally flicked his head. I'm like, tell me. The judge was just laughing his ass off. Like, I overhear him talking like he does this technique one more time. I'm going to fucking lose my shit. And he does it again. I go, patty cake. And he said, that will palm him. And then the judge goes, winner. I'm like, and he looked at him like, seriously? You don't learn your first lesson of 2 fucking times? You do it 3 times? Some people think that's it. Tall guys are really good with the spinning kicks because they think that big reach is going to cover them. But again, this is the problem. You have this exposed. All this exposed. So what the hell are you going to do when your back exposed? I'm kicking your fucking back. I'm going for your fucking spine. I'm going to hit you hard as I can. And you might be a good possibility that paralyze you to fucking life because you're a dumbass. Yeah. Simple. Would I really do that? No. But I'm saying that is a possibility of another martial artist. But let's keep that straight. Let's be straight here. Do not put... anybody I trained, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know. Everything. Because it is a part of your requirement. It's like going to college. You went for computers, right? So why are you learning history? What does computer and history have anything to do with each other? Does it? Okay,
so then apply that to what I said earlier then. Yeah. How's what you're saying now any different than what I said when it came to, again, learn?
I'm agreeing with you.
Okay. But again, I admire all of it. Like I said, the guys who pick a discipline, who find that thing that they're good at, who can express themselves in that way. Again, it's all beautiful to me. So again, I don't favor one over the other per se. I don't know enough to say that okay, this is good in the street and this isn't. I've heard commentary on what people think about. Is Tai Chi good in the street, or is even Wing Chun good in the street? I mean, because everybody looks good on those wooden dummies, but how practical it is in the street. So again, everybody has that different perspective when it comes to the different martial arts that are out there. But when it comes to again some of the disciplines that come from it, those are questions that are oftentimes raised. And again, how far or how deep someone wants to get into it, and then also what ultimately martial arts opens you up to. And this kind of gets into our discussion tonight when we're talking about these spiritual disciplines. So, because you notice that a lot of guys, the more advanced you are in the art, the less you fight. So it's almost like, once you start getting to Dan levels and whatnot, these guys aren't fighting, And I even doubt that they're even training as hard as they did, like in their 20s or 30s or 40s.
Depends on the martial arts, really.
Yeah, I'm making a general statement. I'm saying there's always going to be exceptions or whatever, but generally, you see these guys. The guy's like 70 years old and he's got a pot belly and he doesn't look like anything. Now again, he may hit you with a tap, and that tap could be could paralyze you or whatever. We understand that as well, but but the idea is like, how many of these guys are actually in the practice? Almost like for some of these philosophies, it's like that the physical is simply a doorway to something deeper, and they help you sort of connect with that, and
So
so
let me cut you off for a second.
yeah.
I had an instructor called Sensei Shiro. Sensei Shiro, great instructor. He had the pop belly, like you said, but he trained like a fucking beast.
Mm,
I saw him train, and most of these guys who are martial artists, keep this in mind. Yeah, it is a business out there still, but most of them do it part time for fun. Like they might have a studio and they do it for them. Nobody does that shit full time anymore. Being a martial artist,
mm.
it doesn't pay enough to do it. I'll be
Oh,
very
okay.
straight. It
Right.
does like maybe at a rare occasion somewhere in New York, you may get lucky somebody can do it full time all day long, but that's really rare.
Right.
But for a everyday Joe like myself and you, he's not gonna do it full time like that. So
Hmm.
let's get his ugly ass in here first of all. Yeah, I said ugly. We got a fucking problem with that. You wanna take it outside? You wanna take it outside? Here.
Gel- Gentlemen, we're on a national audience here. Yeah, can we keep
PG.
'cause
Should I make it darker here so
I'm
I can
already
blend in?
I'm already playing ref already, and we're not even haven't got into the topic
All
yet.
right. Let me finish my statement, and I'll let this Google come next. Um, so somebody who does it full time is not getting enough money. So they have like Master Shin, Sensei Zero. He was a hairdresser actually, but he loved to fucking eat that guy. And so
Mm.
he was short. He reminded me of Mr. Miyagi. He has Mr. Miyagi height, but he had the pup belly, and he was. But when he punched, ooh, I got a migraine for a month almost. That's how hard he
Mm.
punched.
Yeah.
He was a good instructor. He was old school, like running across your stomach. And like when you're doing sit-ups, you come in, good, and I'm like, oh, you're too fucking fat for this. And he runs back, good, you need to go, you gotta fucking diet, bro. I'm like, we used to make comments how fat he was.
Right.
But when he threw you like a major reap or a hip throw, oh, you felt it. You felt everything in it, and you're throwing yourself good. So, all right, David, what's up, buddy? How are you? Ready to go? Run 1-on-1. I know versus
You guys
Amano.
doing? I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
We're doing okay, sir. How about yourself? You sound good.
Can you hear me?
Sound like you had a good day. Yes,
Yeah,
I
we can hear you
can.
clear.
Loud and clear.
Nice and clear. So what's going on, man?
That's problem. I'm trying to make sure there's no glitch on my end.
Well, speaking of,
Trying
so
to
I'm
figure out
holding
so
you
much
as
to put
personally
back in.
I'm holding you responsible for that global glitch that took out. I know my company, half the employees
No,
were off
hold on, hold
offline
on,
and whatnot yesterday. So
hold on.
you did
You know
something
what?
in the
You know
background,
what?
messing
Let
around,
me
and you
make it
caused.
crystal clear because I have a group of peers that I work with. They're trying to throw me on the bus or trying to make fun of me. I think here's the problem. I used to work for a company under Infosys called Daimler Mercedes-Benz. Now, here's the joke that is very ironic. Around the late December of 2022, we got a memo. We were told to remove CrowdStrike from every single machine, which means for every laptop, every data we get in remotely. Because some apparent reason, whatever update we were pushing, it was disrupting Microsoft Outlook. It was disrupting some of the third-party application.
Yeah.
And it was like slowing down the process plus blocking installation of application. So throughout last year of 2023 and beginning toward the end of December 2022, we were remotely disabling, removing the application or pushing a particular path. It was not going through particularly, but they give us a step-by-step instruction to go in remotely, use the machine. We erase some of the folders. We name the application that multiple to run. Then from there, put the update again. So this way, can we move it out? Because the way yank it all CrowdStrike from every single machine. It took like almost a whole entire year of last year. And the funny that they caught on to it ahead of time before this global outbreak let me know it was an inside job. Because if if someone in the detective department in Germany caught on to it, what was going on? Okay, CrowdStrike an American-based company, right? And I
Right.
know every company moved away from McAfee and that thing. That used to be the thing every company was using for the cybersecurity protection. They went
Right.
from there to CrowdStrike. I had to do my little research and see how long CrowdStrike been in existence because I never heard of card chart until the last 4 or 5 years. It wasn't known in my ear. I know about every other internet security or cybersecurity team that were using, software they were using, but wasn't CrowdStrike. The other time when I hear about CrowdStrike this, CrowdStrike that, I was kind of iffy about it. I'm like, okay,
David, maybe you should stop doing jump jacks and it won't be a power outage.
it had nothing to do with me. That's the funny thing. The company I work with, we were lucky to jump the gun ahead of time before they got worse.
Yeah. So, David, I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
What knowledge do you have versus chakra versus chi?
Whew. I remember my friend, they were trying to break it down because she said something
And it's
about
hard to break it down. Let's be honest here. It's very hard to break it down. You agree on
it's
that?
hard because he telling me when you come to chakra and chi, it comes from two different fundamental and ideology, right? Chakra is based on what? Chinese martial art. Am I correct?
Chakra or chi?
Oh, chi Chinese martial art.
Mm-hmm.
Chakra is Japanese,
Japanese.
right?
Yes.
Okay. Japanese philosophy, Chinese philosophy may look and sound the same, but it's not. It's based on the excellence of understanding they have on the Japanese side compared with the Chinese. Chi is mostly from a Shaolin teaching. And when we know about the Shaolin Temple, it's more of a religion over there than just a martial art base. But the other thing, the fundamental, the philosophy behind Chi much deeper than any other martial art in China. Chakra, I forgot who was the philosopher who got into it because there was something that was deep in a certain particular clan or group who not only understood it but teach it
Mm-hmm.
to a certain degree. Because when it comes to chakra, right? Both sides it's talk about energy. They talk about the internal energy. But Chinese is more like not only internal energy, but you're tapping not into your internal, but also the external energy. You tap into nature. The way you have a I can't call it third party art. It's a side art from Shaolin Kung Fu, which is called Tai Chi.
Now,
Tai
hang on,
Chi.
hang on a second. Now, I'm getting a little confused because we talked about the distinction between chi and chakra being from a Chinese and a Japanese perspective. But I know one of the questions I have here is, again, how do chakras function within the body according to ancient Indian? And this has been my understanding. I always thought the idea of chakra was from an Asian Indian
I thought,
perspective more
I
so than a Chinese or a Japanese. So again, I'm a little confused then when you talk about
okay.
Japanese with
So,
Here's the
chakras.
thing. I
go ahead.
thought the
You
same
go first,
thing too.
David.
But if you look at the map of Japan, China, and India, you can tell they're very close by. But
Right.
there's a lot of stuff have been removed from the history book, but there's a lot of migration going back and forth between both sides. As well, you had to also have to add Thailand into the mix because there's
Thailand.
some part
Okay.
Thailand. You have to add into the mix because there's some. Even though I watch some of the Japanese animation and some of the Japanese animation, they throw a little hint of history where it have been a cross path between two nation ideology whereby yeah, people from Japan went to Thailand, people from China went to Thailand, people from China went to India, and they were sharing philosophy or know how you like. I can't call them scientists because they weren't scientists as that they were like students or philosophers who are looking for something for the next level, and they go to the particular area to find someone who can help them break them through to the next level.
Mm.
Because throughout my time, I thought chakra was a Indian thing.
Yeah.
Yes, they put the label chakra, but for some apparent reason, the Japanese have a deeper understanding about how to access it. Because
But they both
like most
they
thing,
have different theories.
in most cases, one of the time when people talk about chakra, think about yoga, right? And you think about the essence of the body and energy, right? How
Well,
you
I thought that's what the chi was. Let me just break down. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so this is I'm the layman, and the reason I was as the host is I'm sort of like the layman guy. So you guys are gonna have to make this make some sense to the common guy. My understanding of chi and chakra has traditionally been that chi. Let's start with chakra first.
Mhm.
from a Christian point of view, it's almost like this. We talk about mind, body, and spirit, right?
Yeah.
That the chakra is essentially the spiritual body
Hmm.
of a person. That your conscience lives within your chakra, just like they say your body, we have a spirit, and your soul, who is you, lives within the spirit. So it's the
That's
fit,
correct.
it's the spirit is the body for the soul, for the
That is correct.
mind, the intellect, your memories and whatnot. So we're talking about a physical thing here. I mean, not it's a spiritual thing, but we're a substantive thing.
Hmm.
Whereas chi is more like an energy. It's like electricity. It is what fuels or powers that chakra side, that spiritual side. And so what you try to do through martial arts, or at least in some martial arts, is to draw on that spiritual energy into the physical realm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an untapped source of energy that
Hmm.
you can use to make your punches more powerful or to do feats that a normal human being wouldn't be able to do. It's a reservoir from which you can draw energy in the physical realm. So that's how I've always understood chi and chakra. Chakra, like I said, it's like, and if you ever watch Doctor Strange, the movie Doctor Strange, your chakra was like when they went into that astral form, that sort of ghost like form, that is your chakra. And the energy that you're able to draw from that, like, so when they're using their hands with their rings to make, shields and things of that nature, or draw on certain energies and whatnot, that is sort of where your chi would somewhat come from. And then also from the very base understanding that I have of acupuncture, that the reason why they do acupuncture is again to fine tune
Right
the
there. You just hit
body
it. You just hit it on it.
to draw some of that chi energy to help heal the body.
You're
So again,
correct.
so your chi lives within your chakra, and if you use these fine tuning needles, you can redirect some of that chi energy to, like, let's say if you have an injury of some kind or something that you need relief from, you can draw some of that energy into that spot, and that will help to stimulate healing in that particular area. So
You,
that's
you,
my
I'm glad
fundamental
that
ignorant.
is a
Okay.
almost technical breakdown. I'm glad you did that way because
Hmm.
when you were speaking and I was thinking about, I was like, hold up, there was a mistake being made. Chi is Chinese, Ki is Japanese, Chakra is India, but the,
Okay, that makes
there
more sense. Yeah.
there is a connection between India and China more than anything else because from the philosophy fundamental between the Shaolin monk and India, India have Buddha, right? Am I wrong? No, they don't have Buddha. No, China. China got
That's
Buddha.
Tibet. That's Tibet, right?
Tibet, sorry, Tibet. But somehow Tibet religion relate to that of the Chinese Shaolin monk in some unique way. But when you mention chakra and chi, there was almost a similarity in between. But in Japan, they think called ki.
Hmm.
I just remember that because I took mixed martial, I took Shito karate, and it was always mentioned ki, not chi. Ki with the Ki. China take chi with a Chi.
Right.
Chakra is more of an India thing. And I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the reasons why I want to get the history book and I want to understand who was the one who first named it first.
Well, I can
How,
actually hang on a second. I can actually get to our light now. We don't really have historical facts that going that back. Says who actually discovered this, who actually named it first, because everybody's arguing like, oh, like like Atlantis. Oh, Atlantis is here, Atlantis is there. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's one of those things like everybody's arguing about it. Like one thing we're forgetting here, why do they have to be separate? I think all of them are similar in their own ways.
but there's a fundamental issue between the conflict of ideology because if you think about it, remember I mentioned I'm glad Mom said Tibet. You
Mm-hmm.
have China, you got Japan, you got India, you got Thailand, and you got Tibet, right? You got these nations, these countries that dibble and dabble of that next level of dealing with the third realm of internal energy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
And
then
there also
fundamental.
seems to yeah. And
Go
there
ahead.
also seems to be a difference in which from these cultures, from these countries, how they access this energy. Now, the one thing, now we did a show, we've done several shows, both if not in the Hangout or on the gray area, talking about martial arts. One of the things that I showed, I think it was in the gray area, I showed a global map where we talked about these different martial arts. So there's African martial arts, and you're familiar with a few of them. We talk about Europe, we talk about China and Japan. We never talked about India because it's rarely done. When you talk about Indian monks and priests and things of that nature, you rarely ever hear them talking about the expression or the access to these spiritual dimensions through martial arts. Even though there's martial arts that exist, and we know that, we talk about Thailand, when you talk about Indonesia, when you talk about all these neighboring countries and whatnot, they have a very strong martial arts base and foundation. But when it comes to India, you rarely hear about Indian priests and monks and things of that nature engaging in any kind of martial art. It seems like like I said, it seemed like they took a medicinal route in trying to access these energies, whereas in Asia, in Japan, and China, they took the martial route through the physical discipline to draw these things. But again, all these acupuncture and what's the stuff with the heat, the ball, isn't that also Indian as well? You take the cupping, isn't that also Indian as well? Is that where does cupping come from?
It's either India or China. I'm not too
That's
sure.
India. Is Indian. Is Indian.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. So it seems like with the Indians, they took a more medicinal route to access that energy, whereas these other martial arts, they use the physical fighting or through
And you're correct.
the
I
discipline
give
of
you
the
that.
body to do that.
I give you that. Yeah, India was doing that, but let's not forget China was right behind them as well because they were doing that more on a much deeper level, but they were
Right.
breaking down based on certain. I'm looking for the exact word because I've watched movies, I've watched series, I've watched these documents when they talk about Chinese medicine, and just looking at it, I say, wait, some of these Chinese medicine is almost mirror that of Indian medicine. The approach to what they do. Acupuncture is very heavily known in China, right? Chiropractor, where do the origin come from? It's not China, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
But for some apparent reason, I say I can't give it all to China because India has something close to that as well. So there's a debate concerning based on Chi and where the fundamental philosophy actually come from, or did they cross met and share researches? Because
Right.
yes, their history whereby these people went to other countries to find a solution to what they're trying to discover. And there was
Right.
some kind of breakthrough along the way where they share certain knowledge among themselves and
Well,
they come back
we
and
also
talk.
talking about some of the most ancient civilizations in history, right? I mean, you talk about Indians or Chinese going back thousands of years BC and
Every
whatnot. So
every culture has their version of a type of martial art and their version of a chakra, chi,
Hmm.
uh, monk, whatever. Before we move on, I want to address a question that Cash Ray missed it. I apologize if I pronounced it wrong, buddy. Does Indian have an own martial art star that we never heard of? Yes, actually. And I do apologize. I'm gonna butcher the name of this. I always do every time I try and pronounce this goddamn thing. Kala Kalapatuk. I'm gonna put it in the chat because I can't fucking pronounce the goddamn word.
mm,
But it is their martial. Their martial arts is very airborne, like jumping in the air, coming around, and kind of coming with a fist down. It's unique style, but I feel like we're forgetting like all these have their own style. Obviously, they have their own techniques, but I think all of them come from the same root somehow. They're all connected in a way, like a puzzle.
mhm.
Like we talked about, okay, we know chakra and chakeng is similar because they're Indian and Chinese. Chi and chai is similar again, but why do they have to be different? They don't
Yeah.
have to be.
Did you want me to read? I know you put in the chat. You want me to read these
Yeah, go ahead, read 'em
definitions?
off. Read 'em off. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So here, chakra is a Sanskrit, which is typically Indian, associated with India, not China. Word that means wheel or cycle. In many Eastern and spiritual belief systems, chakras are spinning wheels of energy that run through the body and connect people to the world around them. They are thought to correspond to major org. I'm not sure what that corresponds to major org. Not sure what that means. But chi is your life force, the energy that flows through you and through everything. It is which gives you life. The concept of chi, also qi, has its roots in traditional Chinese medicine or TCM and martial arts, but the idea of a vital life force. So the only thing that's different, and again, I think I can certainly understand the chi concept, the chakra concept. They look at that as an energy also, but again, I've always looked at chakra as being more like a bodily, the housing of the energy, more so than an energy in and of
So, Paul,
itself.
I put the whole thing in the back chat because I cut me off when I sent it to you.
Sure, no problem.
So this was discovered between 100 to 500 BC. That's where the root. That's why it has a big gap. They don't know where exactly it really came out from. So that's one. Chakra is also we have a lot of pressure points that is controlled by that. Same with chi. There are a lot. Like believe it or not, if you hit the right pressure point, you can go whole numb. Your whole hand can be numb for years probably. Um,
And
Go ahead, Paul, David.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I remember I spoke to somebody who was into acupuncture. He said it's not just that, it's just they're a unique healing property whereby
Correct.
if you fully grasp and fully understand the multiple level of acupuncture, you can hit the right pressure point to speed up a protein healing process for they can recover quickly.
That's
Because
what I always understood too.
they, that's why I say the thing about it, there's a very unique science behind it, but it takes years of studying, years of prepping, years of understanding the human anatomy of the acupuncture. Because many times I see it, they'll have like a complete human anatomy map of every single acupuncture of a human body. Most of them have the app normal body and one for acupuncture is not the same. Like be you look on the other the acupuncture other side of the point. Double checking to make sure it actually is correct. And you know, and you look at the tool they use, and the needle are very and made on
Right.
a very unique material. You cannot use any material for that.
Right, but so now going back to what you were now, you were kind of breaking up a little bit, at least on my end. So I
Yeah,
apologize
my
if I
end
didn't
too.
get
You're breaking up pretty
everything
bad.
that you were saying. But I
Sorry.
thought you were saying to an
Right.
extent that not everyone is necessarily the same in terms of the mappings. Because I thought that
Correct.
one
That
thing
is
for
correct.
sure. Because I know because what's interesting now is that you have certainly a lot of Western practitioners, Western medicine is adopting a lot of these acupuncture and cupping methods. But just like anything in medicine, it has to rely on some sort of mappings, like of the body. Like, obviously the human body has nervous systems, there's regions, there's nerves. If you touch someone's nerve, you can literally like there's a certain amount of nerves that control this pinky and this pinky, right? I mean, there's so if you connect those nerves or if you understand the mapping of what that is, you can actually either heal or disable any one of these in particular. So everyone has a mapping.
And
So
and
I
that is
thought the
correct.
idea in modern, in at least in modern acupuncture anyway, you do have these maps. You have, like, again, they have these anatomy charts on their in their
Mm.
office. They have these, it's like the veins going through your body, and they say, okay, if I hit here, here, and here, that's going to affect this pinky. If I hit here, and here, it affects this pinky. So you do have. It seems like the way it's presented now, and I think this is the only way it can be accepted in Western medicine, is that you can't treat everybody as an individual. It's like there's a general mapping for everybody, and
And then
with maybe
the
some
reverse
variation, but you have to you
bingo.
if you can't make it standard for everybody, then now you're just into
And
mysticism or whatever. It
and
becomes a subjective experience more so than a practical medicine.
and I'm glad you said that way because when they did the research on it, they say normal people body had this unique mapping, and there was a variation of other mapping based on birth genetic defect or different type of birth
Hmm.
they had to go through, whereby these
Right.
mappings was off. It's almost like that was the foundation of neurology, today modern medicine. When you
Right.
have people who studied the neurology of your nerves on how to make sure in case of a surgery they can reattach to your nerve. 'Cause that must be the foundation that
Yeah.
create the doorway for people to understand neurology because
Right.
Chinese understood the nervous system in a very, very unique way without cutting people open, I believe.
Right.
I hope I'm wrong.
Right.
You're
But for what I
actually
noticed so far,
that's the point of it. You're supposed to be able to heal the body with a spiritual energy flow. Think of Star Wars, the best way. Remember the last one, like she, able to transfer her energy power to somebody else to save their life.
Yeah.
Think it is a similar concept, but not to that extreme. The best analogy I always tell people, think of Dragon Ball Z. That is the closest analogy I can bring to people. It's okay, not Super Saiyan or energy beams, something like that, but to control your chakra or your chi to actually change your fighting style or have an energy to next level, even healing properties too. Now, okay, Naruto, for example,
what
okay,
about
you
Fist
cannot
of the North Star?
huh?
What about Fist of the North Star?
Fist of
Fist
the
of the
North
North
Star.
Star, they're a little more about these acupuncture point more. And the one the main character keep mentioning, if I hit the particular what they call medium, I'll make you do certain thing because I know you mentioned Dragon Ball or Chi. Fifth and North Star was more emphasizing different acupuncture points where to hit. And it's an old school anime. But every time I keep hearing, I was like, is this me or they're just throwing a hint out there? Because everybody know about Japanese animation. They throw you a hint of science, a hint of economy, a hint of math. Something about is actual education because Fifth and North Star was all acupuncture right off the back. And if you're an American kid, you have no idea what the hell they're talking about.
Hmm.
Now realize they were teaching you Chinese medicine of how you press it too hard, it give you a negative effect. You press it too light, there's a positive effect. It's all
Right.
about different levels.
Right.
That
And
was
let me
the
right. No,
Nota.
right.
Dragon Ball
Now let me
Z
ask
was
both of
pure
you.
chakra.
Gotcha. Now let me ask both of you. I mean, since you guys might be more into this than I, like I said, I've never had acupuncture or, like I said, the hot. What do they call it? The cupping. Have any of you guys ever had? Because I know you guys have had your share of injuries through martial arts training and whatnot. Have you ever had acupuncture or cupping to heal, shoulder or knee or you know?
I
So
had a
I mean that might be
chiropractor.
interesting as well as far as
I had a
it may be in a
chiropractor.
yeah.
I had a chiropractor section, but I wish I got a chance to do acupuncture or cupping because I was very curious about it.
Yeah, chiropractor
Chiropractic.
isn't going to incorporate. Though I do know there's some crossover. I do know some chiropractors they're starting to bring some of these Eastern medicines, like I said, the cupping and the acupuncture into the chiropractic practice.
Hmm.
It's still not widespread. You have to
Not
find
yet.
somebody who's
Not
because
yet.
again because the thing is insurance, right? I mean, I'm just being pat as a
It's
lay
not just
person.
insurance alone. The person has to be certified in that particular practice to know what
Correct.
they're doing.
Because not every insurance even covers chiropractic. I mean, that's still
A
more
lot of
doing
insurance
it,
won't
which
cover it.
I'm glad about. More are doing it. Not again, it's not every plan, it's not every across the board, but I've seen more starting to incorporate that. But especially when it comes to these Eastern disciplines,
Hmm.
that again is going to maybe take some more convincing, or there has to be more peer review. There has to be more analytical base, not just how a person feels. Oh, I feel better. You have to scientifically prove that these things are yielding benefits in order for the
And here the
medical
joke.
community in
And here the
America, the
joke.
Western, to buy into it.
There's a Nigerian doctor who now incorporating chiropractic practice in his own practice in
Hmm.
Nigeria. And
Right.
I'm hoping he introduced cupping and acupuncture because Africa is not used to that.
Right.
So I'm gonna cut you off here a second, guys. So there's another treatment healing called stone healing. That's
Yeah.
very English. It takes stones that they're heating stones, and some of them they're hot to a point that you can even burn your hands. But if you know how to place them in a certain angle or a certain
Right.
way in a certain place,
Right.
they're healing. My instructor used to do that with us. Sometimes getting hurt. I
Right.
remember I think it was my back was pretty fucking jacked up.
Right.
Leaning down his chiropractic chair he had, And he took him out. I'm here sitting. Shh. I'm like, you're not putting that shit on my fucking back, dude. Like, yeah, I am. You know, like I went up like, oh, actually, I don't feel anything. He puts the next one, and the next one, and I'm like, oh, that actually feels pretty nice. I'm like, hey, if you're at it, you want to start rubbing me a little bit too? And he looked at me like, yeah, okay, kid. But the point of that, those heats, if the rocks in a certain way, they're not heavy. It can't be any rock, obviously. It's a Pacific
Bingo.
rock from a Pacific place of the world at a certain temperature and a certain angle, a certain way to put them down.
Bingo.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, 5 minutes later, like I felt great.
Right.
I'm like, wow. So the ancient medicine does work, but is losing practice slowly.
The thing is, Eastern medicine
Well,
take much longer time to study and to understand, because you got to understand the philosophy behind it first.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember there be a movie whereby the Western medicine came to China to compete with the Eastern medicine, and they didn't like the fact that the Eastern medicine was far more advanced than them and their modern technology. There was a pushback concerning Eastern medicine, how they were able to cure certain things without the work of let me cut you open, let me do X, Y, and Z. Because let's be honest, Western medicine is more about opening you up, do what you need to
Really, I
do.
wouldn't
So,
have figured that out at all, Paul. I mean, David, thank you. Let me ask you this question, David. Let me ask you this question. Okay, we're talking about chakra healing properties.
mhm.
Do you or Chi? Do you believe hand signs helps you control your chi or your chakra or whatever?
If I understand the fundamental behind it before I do it, I'll believe it. Yes, but it's not just something that like everything have a meaning, every have a definition behind it, every have a connection to what need to be done. It's no different because talking to a person who came from a cultural background whereby we have ritual, we have what people call voodoo black magic.
Mm-hmm.
hmm
That's already out in the open in Africa, of the
right.
continent of Africa. It's not hidden. It's out in the open.
Yeah, I
So
think it was
when we
Jamaican. I'm not
understand
mistaken, right?
So you understand the third level of the supernatural, then you understand that there is a hand weaving connecting to certain art to activate or do certain things. I cannot say that it's not so and be stupid. Like, don't you have something similar or close to that in your own continent? Like, duh. Like, come on.
I think everybody has a certain version of it. Like
Hmm.
I said, with the chakra and everything. You think of black magic. Everybody has their version of black Chinese and whatever the case is.
hmm
So hand signs, I think there are a place for them. Not just like do 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 do. No, not like that. But I think it is like a healing property. If you know how to do the right technique, focus the right energy, you can probably heal. Assassin and Ninja showed it very well when he was hurt in the truck. He's like, oh fuck, he started dealing, and all of a sudden his things
Hold
just
on.
start
Time
healing.
out before you go any further. Mr. Paul Bennett, do you watch Ninja Assassin?
Yeah, did you watch it?
It's been a
Look me in the eye.
long time.
Look me in the eye.
It's been a long time.
Mm, we gave you this assignment a while back.
Look, haven't had the time yet,
Okay,
guys.
Paul.
First of all, none of you guys. First of all, shout out to Lady Noboa. None of you guys have sway like she did. Now, if she got on me to do it, then I would have had to do it because I watched all 4 John Wick movies. I watched all 4 John Wick
Hang on, time
movies
out.
within like a 36-hour period. So
Okay.
so again,
Okay.
if she said you better if she said you better watch it, then I might have been up for it. But again, I
Lady
just haven't been
Noboa,
able
you
to get
hear
caught
that
up, guys.
now?
I got better thing. I love her to death. She's one of my homegirls. But
Be
I got a secret
be
weapon.
careful.
I
That's
got
the
a secret
queen.
weapon. I got a secret weapon.
That's the
You know
queen.
what a secret weapon is?
Oh,
Oh,
You want to hear it? Let me
oh,
speak to your wife, Paul. I'm gonna see. She'll make you watch.
my wife don't care nothing about Ninja Assassin. She's trying to get me to watch the new
I'll
Axel
give her
F movie
$40
with
to make you watch
Eddie
it.
Murphy. She's like, we gotta find a night. It's been so crazy around here. It's just like, look, we gotta find a night to find Eddie Murphy's Axel F before it goes off of Netflix. So that's she's not thinking about no Ninja Assassin. She ain't into any of that stuff at all. She'd be
I'll
like,
give her
look,
$100 to make you watch it.
Lady Noboa,
you go watch
please
that and
contact Mr. Paul Bennett. Tell him watch
I'm
Ninja
gonna have to
Assassin
hit
on
her
a
up
big
later after
screen
the show
TV.
and have I'll get I'm gonna for her your number, so you might get a weird number like tonight. You fucking asshole.
No, we don't saying that because I watched it in the movie theater, and everybody in the theater was grabbing onto the chair tight because the
I
level
did see
of
in theory too.
the graphic and the detail of it. No one expect to see what Chinese and Japanese get into on a level. It it made the horror movie look like child play compared to what was really going on. And
Mm.
people was like, "Oh my God, this one got." I'm like, "Oh, that's just a tip of the iceberg." Japanese and Chinese movie production let you see detail what they engage into and the anatomy of the body on a whole different ballgame. Which I'm not gonna lie, it's hard to watch without. I tell you, don't eat, don't drink if you're gonna watch the movie.
Wait, hang on. It was a great movie. I gave it 9 out of 10. Only reason I gave it 9 out of 10, if you remember the beginning scenes when they're slicing it, it looked like more like ketchup than anything. The beginning of it, but the rest of it was pretty good. But the one thing I did like about it, the way they had that camp on top of the mountain.
Hmm.
In a lot of places in Chinese and Japan, Japanese and Chinese, they still have camps in a mountain. Actually, like, no cable, no cell phone. You have to carry the water to take a shower, like the old school. So some of the stuff they're showing in the movie is actually legit shit. Like a little history lesson for everybody. Assassin's Creed. Obviously, everybody knows I'm a big Assassin's Creed fan. All right. Does anybody know if that's real or fake? Assassin's Creed is actually real. From the assassins they came from. In Middle Eastern time, they were hired assassins to kill big headshots back in the day. And that's where the idea from. And look it up if you don't believe me. I'll give you $100 if I'm wrong. You know what? Fuck it. I'll give you 200. How's that? Back.
I don't doubt you because here's the thing in history there's always been a clan or an underground group who are responsible for doing things that other people don't want to get their hands dirty. Because in China, they always have a unique troop, underground troop with a no name. Their job is to do the dirty work, espionage work, no different from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Japan, it was mostly between the two ninja house. They forced those two to compete, and based on who win, they represent one of the son who will be the shogun, which to me is shitty as hell.
Now,
Mm.
here's a more history lesson. Ninjas, as we call them now, or oh man, what's that fucking Japanese word? Shit. Help me out, Paul. I mean, David. What is the word? Not shogun. Shit.
No, you talking about the shogunate or no. Man, I need to get back to my Japanese studies again because there's a lot of them I forget how to pronounce. 'Cause I know concerning the ninja clan, there are two particular rival ones, but it did back in history. But there's another one before that. Normally, ninjas need to be farmers before they start doing what they were doing because it's more of a rivalry between the samurais and what would the man. Look what happened when you forget your history about the Japanese history, Japanese connection with martial art. From samurai came karate, then from farmer using their hidden art came ninjutsu. But there's something missing in between. I forgot what it was. When you in the
Nishobi,
dojo,
something like that. Okay, Nishubi, something like that. Yeah,
shinobi.
Yeah. Thank you, Nishubi. So that is the actual Japanese word of assassin. Yeah. So there was no such thing as assassin ninjas. They dress in black with a sword. That's all art. That is cartoon. That is us blowing shit up and like always, like we do as human beings. This is this is a
Hmm.
little thing. Then all of a sudden we're going this big. Like same thing. Like obviously we talked about it in the gray area. The Black Samurai. They're this small, and now he's the most famous samurai in history. I say that for a reason. Same thing with Spartans. They had a black Spartan guy. Probably looked better than David, but that's a whole different story, of course.
Aha, very funny.
But my point is trying to get to is everything we learn about chakra and chi and all this spirit force. Is that fair to say that, David and Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's blown up so much with cartoons and everything that
Well, although I may say
we're up in
spirit,
for
I may say spirit energy, not force, Because my thing is, when you talk about force, you talk about intent, and I don't
Yeah,
know if there's an intent behind it. You know what I mean? At least that's the way I look at it. Maybe I watched too much Star Wars, but force always kind of had like a motive or intent. But
so
it's
how,
not just
what, how, okay, okay.
it's not just energy. I wouldn't attribute chi or anything like that. Again, assuming you believe that, because again, some people don't. But if you do
The
believe in it,
real
it's more of an
techniques, the
energy
technique.
more so than a force.
Okay, so the real techniques like fighting style. We're talking about fighting style. I'm not talking medicine now. When you punch something, you can break a brick if you know how to control it correctly. Now,
Right.
when you're doing a technique, like okay, let's use Dragon Ball Z again as an example. A Kamahama way is a energy ball. End of the day, it is a such thing, but the difference is that you can't see it with a naked eye. You can feel it, but you're not gonna see it. So, if this is somewhat real, makes me question a lot of things. Like the military, for example. Do we need weapons like this, like guns and stuff there, or can we train our guys? I think me and you were talking about it a couple weeks ago, right, Paul?
I think we were talking about if, well, this was I think it might have been again another hangout or Greg. We were talking about if, in fact, these energies could be harnessed, and if you're like a military guy or whatever, you think that this will help your soldiers in the field to have access to these energies to help you fight better or longer or whatever, then you would have thought somebody would have tried to manipulate monks or whoever taught this stuff to, hey, you better basically teach this to all my guys or off with your heads or something like that. You know what I mean?
So
That
here's the problem with that now. All right, there's a couple problems. One, it takes years and years and years and years and years and years and years to master it. But let's say, for argument's sake, so we make a machine. All right, let's use Doom for example for a second. The game Doom. They use the Hell Gates and all that stuff to use it, and shit hits the fan for a reason. When you start fucking with shit we don't understand with technology, and that shit hits a fucking fan.
No,
that doesn't stop the progress
no,
though.
no. What?
It always happens. It always,
Oh, I'm not arguing
again,
that one
since we
bit.
created the bomb. Okay, so I mean,
AI,
yeah,
Well,
let's talk about AI for one second here.
let me throw this out there. Since you mentioned that way, then you might have to take the playbook of China or Russia. Because let's be honestly real. Look at China. Almost every young kid had to enroll into a kung fu school, so to speak. And throughout the year, they learn the basic before they branch out to whatever style they get themselves into. It's not so?
True. Oh, by the way, where was Shinobi? I remember it now. Shinobi.
Shinobi, that's what I'll call it. Now, in Russia, it's almost no different, but what they did is all the children born out of military parent, they had to enroll into military school at a young age. So what you asking to teach the military, they gotta build their foundation first. Because you look at the South Korean and North Korean army, dude, they already know these ops because they were doing that for years on end to the point of level of perfection. Because the thing about mixed martial art and understand the third level of martial art is considered the chi or the chakra, whatever, it takes years of development over time. It's not something that happens in under 2 years. It does not work that way. This is why they say don't sleep on Chinese folk because almost everybody was a former student of a kung fu school. Either they took it to the next level or they stop at a certain level. So you can't sleep on them. So it's like almost walk into a country of military prepared people. They're actually trained compared to the United States of Fat America, where 1% or less go to the gym.
Bro, I'll give you an even better one. Okay, let's use firearms for example here. A lot of us do use firearms. We know how to use them, but we don't even know how to use them accurately.
Mm,
Can
that
we
is my
agree?
point. I will agree.
All right,
And the thing
let me ask you a
is,
question, David. Do you know how to use a firearm?
never hold one in my life.
Okay, Paul.
same here.
I know how to use a firearm. I know a bunch of firearms because I have a lot of friends in the military. Not because I live in PA and there's I don't want to say lenient. There are stupid laws in Pennsylvania with guns, but that's a different conversation. But my point is trying to get to is nobody knows how to use them correctly. The different about other countries, Greece, Korea, and all those countries overseas, they're taught correctly in a very young age.
Hmm.
Same thing with martial arts. I miss those old days that you actually had to learn something in school, not book shit, real shit.
Let me stop there. The yesteryear of America, you to have the whole entire country get into physical education hardcore from elementary school, middle school, and high school because of the selective service. If I'm correct, Mr. Paul, whereby
Correct.
where people had to be prepared in advance to be drafted, so to speak. And after a while, they dropped the ball on it. It's not much of a big deal. They move all kind of programs. I remember back in the '80s, we have all type of sport camp that keep you active. But China and Japan never dropped the ball in that. China made it a national thing to the point where they consider one of the most healthiest nation in the world. Let's be honest. Look at the elementary school, the kindergarten, the pre-K. What kind of activity got the kid engaged in, and compared to what we have over here, it's night and day. Let's be specific. They have kung fu school and they got regular school. Jackie Chan, he spent 10 years northern style, 5 years southern style in kung fu school. That tell you something.
My only pushback on that would be again, and when you talk about modern warfare today, if you even look at what's happening with Russia and Ukraine today, how much of this stuff boils down to hand combat? And for all practical purposes, I mean, this isn't 100 years ago. A lot of stuff would have mattered. In
And you
modern warfare,
and you're
engaging the
correct.
enemy hand to hand combat is not likely, or at
Not
least
like
if you're talking about putting the investment in to train people in these things. I know they do. You know, your military they learn some stuff, but you know, it's how likely
it's
is all
not.
that going to be
It's more than
to the
not
Chinese
likely.
advantage?
It's more than like based on the battlefield, the nature of the battlefield. That's what I look at it. It's all being based on the nature of the battlefield. If it's wide and open, there's no way you can get close to doing that, unless you're training these military people to go underground, which is very rarely the case. Maybe because most of the battle is battle out in the open, dealing with tank and plane and so on and so forth.
Now you got
Uh,
now you got drones. Forget that. We're not even the humans aren't even pulling the trigger anymore. It's literally like it's becoming a video game.
that's the point. Now, yes, it's becoming like a video game, but you leave yourself open, just like this global issue that we had with car strikes. That's a loophole right there. This is something where I tell people it's more like I told you so. When you keep pushing for the cloud far too much, you leave yourself open for a lot of vulnerability. And what just happened recently, which I wasn't aware of it because I don't have CloudStrike on my PC. I don't use their product. Thank God
Right.
about that. Ugh. I've been aware of that. Like
You already have
they
PC problems. You don't need more.
no, I have hardware problem, not software related problem. That was a software related problem that should have never happened in the first place. We saw first glimpse when I worked in my last job how much disruption it did that when I had to yank it out of the system. So the company I work with was ahead of the game before this global outbreak came out.
Hmm.
That's just my thing. So for this to happen, you have to blame the higher up. Who pushed the door open and said this could be the company I'm supposed to be relying on? When there's other part that do a better job than that, it doesn't create the type of friction or disruption of people's services. I've been talking about it for more than a decade and a half, but people are like, oh, just shut up. And I just keep quiet and let them ram their mouth. Because I always knew you have to pay close attention. Yet I love technology, but I'm not going to be gullible and do it. Oh, let's push that. I'm going to question things. Why do you need this? What the reason behind it? Why are you so quick to want to go to this direction? You haven't fully grasped and solidified this foundation here yet before you want to jump to the next thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The idea of they putting the cart before the horse, that's the American way of doing things. That's more than American being the ultimate F up. If you ask me. There's never a protocol put in place just in case it did happen, you just switch to this one immediately. So you control the match. No, they put all our egg in this basket. Like, come on. Let's be real. You asking for it. Hello. That's the
Very
anatomy
true.
of how things look at it because I used to be a crazy ass nerd who loved science. That I start to realize sometimes you need the common sense to slow your ass down before you make the most dumbest mistake. These days, they don't have common sense no more. It's all about the dollar and the profit. Oh
Mhm.
well, I'll
All right.
just
Well, let's
let's
get
get back
to
to let's get back to the conversation on that
yeah.
one.
So to going off your point, then again, how can you integrate again, assuming you believe in it, the knowledge of chakras and chi to benefits of over one's overall health and spiritual growth? So what would you so based on your knowledge of what it is at the end of, and let's make it personal for both of you. How could it help you in your because again you guys have been in these spaces, two of the most transparent gentlemen that I know, who
Really? I didn't know that.
you've shared stuff that is been pretty phenomenal, and I consider you guys very courageous for doing so. So how can some of these disciplines, can they help you in your spiritual walk and journey for you to get over something? I know David, it's a battle for you all the time. I see it, but again, that's why I respect you so much, because you're in the heat, you're in the thick, and you come out every day on it, and you help so many people as well. So could these disciplines, if you spent more time in them, could they help you just overall for your
Did
mental and spiritual health
it did it
and your
away? You know, it did it away. Okay, you're not the Christian is one thing, but doing the discipline in Shitoryu karate, it helped me kind of like keep myself calm a lot of time.
hmm
But there are days, I'm not gonna lie, I want to just rage
yeah
out and just
yeah
explode.
yeah
And it's kind of like when you be constant money of the discipline you went through and what you have been through, and they hearing the word that you're saying today about rage and anger, because I took Shitoryu karate to control my rage and my anger. That one the number one reason behind it.
right
Because I hate. No, let's be real, Mr. Paul. You and I are Christian, right? We go to church. How often you see people know how to control their anger properly in church these days? How often you tell the close
yeah
that you
it's a yeah I think part of I think there's reasons for that. I was just talking to some guys earlier is because you might be Christian in title, but again, how much are you truly walking in the faith? And so again, so to that end, just taking it back to the chakra chi conversation. Again, how many people who talk about it are actually about it, about doing things that help to promote their overall physical, mental, and spiritual well-being? So, like for you guys,
more.
like I talked about the acupuncture earlier. I talked about the cupping and things of that nature earlier. How much are you guys willing to invest in yourselves
100%.
The, the fundament, fundament,
to go to people who are going to help you whatever stresses you, because I think a lot of that stuff for the act I mean I think a lot of that stuff is supposed to help you with that also, not just
one of the
physical
fundament.
injuries,
I
but
know.
the
David, let me take this one actually. So
Okay.
how I would invest myself into another art or continue my education under martial arts, 100%. I
not
would
talking
invest
about
it.
that. Not talking. We're talking. With again in the context of the conversation tonight, we're talking about chakra and chi.
That's why I was going at this.
Okay. And then
And
So
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go
if
ahead.
I can go back, have my master Ray still alive with us today, and open those scrolls. He had scrolls. I mean, scrolls. Only a few people even able to held them. I was one of them. He would not let me open it, and they explained how to break down the chakra techniques to the T. Ours, I don't speak Japanese. That's the only fucking problem. I couldn't. That's why it don't point me in opening it. But let's say I did for argument's sakes. If I was able to get those knowledge, maybe those techniques or some of my healing techniques, maybe the chakra technique, I can save my mother's life from fighting cancer, or help somebody a dying kid out there. I'll do it. I know it sounds like something from a comic book now we're talking about, but pretend this is actually realistic, and I think it is. Call me crazy, call me stupid, call me ludicrous, call me psychotic, call me whatever. I don't give a fuck. Call me every name of book. If I can sit there and say for 5 minutes, this is real, I can save people's lives. I think me studying for years and years and years, it'll be a sacrifice well worth it.
Mhm.
Why not? Maybe I can save some. Like maybe the disability somebody has walking. Maybe he has a back injury, but chakra, chi, or whatever can actually show him how to walk, like Doctor Strange did. The one guy. Don't you think? If let's say you loved basketball one time, right, Paul?
Yeah.
And you got paralyzed. I say, well, how much it would suck? You could never throw a ball again.
Look, I was on my back for a long time, so I
No,
understand what
so
it is not to be able to walk
okay.
or run.
Let me rephrase
So
that.
I can under, I can
You can
I
relate.
can understand
Yeah,
that. So
but let's say I can. You could never walk ever again, and I find out a technique to show you how to walk again. Won't you be happy? Or like my mother, who's always in pain because her treatments. If we find out a chakra or chi, a technique to treat your better, the world could be a lot better, right?
it would be. I mean, if you take the question in isolation, of course, if they're healing modalities that have practical application in the physical world, of course, I think a lot of people would accept. I think even Western medicine would be open to that much more than it is now. But again, the issue has always been, again, by our Western standards.
Mm-hmm.
This cannot be anecdotal. And so if you're going to have it where some people benefit from this stuff and some people can't, if it can't be quantified, again, science, just practical Western science, it has to be measurable, observable, and repeatable. That's
The
the
reason,
basic tenet. That's the basic tenets of science. And so again, if we can get to a point, that's one of the questions where we have here. What are the practical techniques for balancing chakras in or enhancing or enhancing chi? Or can modern science validate the existence of chakras and chi? If so, how so? This is,
Now,
I think, is what's preventing this further explanation. Like I said, some are starting to adopt it. Western guys who grew up in Western culture are investing the time and money and the resources to invest in this and incorporate it in their practice.
and I'll give
Has
perfect
it
example.
has it taken national acceptance yet?
I'll tell
No,
you
it
perfect.
hasn't. But I
It has.
like where it's going. I think there needs to be a further depth and exploration of this.
I'll give a perfect example. If anyone who grew up in Brooklyn, New York, right, since the '80s, and been to downtown Manhattan on the Chinese bridge, near the Chinese bridge, the Chinese park, always 6 o'clock in the morning, there would be a group of
Yep.
elderly Chinese people doing Tai Chi, which is applying the fundamental of channeling the Chi, but it's also incorporating the breathing technique. A lot of kids make fun of them doing that before in the past, but since the '90s, there has been a slow growing trend of people joining them in the process of learning it, and they now, while they were dealing with each elder group, I asked a few people who took a part of it, who joined in, and I asked them what was the experience. They say for some parents when they do that, it makes it easier for them to go to work with so much zen that they're able to go through the day of their job without little to no problem. Because it's like that they do first, early in the morning before they go to work. Because they see these Chinese people do it religiously, everything. Remember, I say the corporeal Tai Chi and the breathing technique. Those in Manhattan know about it, who've been a part of that thing for 2 decades. It's growing steadily, but there are people who make fun of it, but don't understand the fundamental behind it. Because you see these Chinese elders, I'm not talking about no 30, I'm talking about 50, 60, 70, 80, doing things that the younger age could not even do themselves.
Hmm.
And yet, it's always been known these Chinese group of people are healthier than most ethnic group today, hands down. And they have been well exposed in New York City for more than 3 to 4 decades. Yet you need to make fun of them. The people start to catch on. This is not a joke. They have like at least 8 to 9 sections early in the morning. You get there early in the morning, and you got to be on point. Got to come there from the beginning. At first, yeah, it'd be difficult, But once you start getting used to it, you see people becoming expert and they enjoy it. It's like a ritual thing. Some even go further and say, I want to take a trip and go to China and go to the people who actually taught this thing. And look, mind you, this is a Chinese tradition. Early in the morning before they start work, they're doing the fundamental compared to the advanced courses. People are not taking a Western medicine and understand that it brings a level of peace and tranquility in their life far more than Western medicine. So yeah, it's not mainstream yet. Reason why it's not mainstream, it's all about profit. You also know how that go about.
That's too, that okay. I can buy some of that. All right, now let me give you a little pushback. Then now I'm just looking at, for example, I'm on a website now talking about um, life expectancy of individuals based on race ethnicity. So now they have this one acronym here. I don't even know what this means. It's AIAN. I don't know if that means Native American peoples, but it said life expectancy for them is the lowest at 67.9 years, followed by black people 72.8 years, while white and Hispanic people have a expectancy between 77.5 and 80 years, and the highest Asian people have a life expectancy of 84.5. Now, that being said, how much of this do we want to put on these practices that you're talking about? How much of it is lifestyle? How much of it is diet?
Both.
So again, it could be a factor. In fact, anybody, I challenge anybody. If you talk about the guys who are doing this stuff, I got guys in my area. When I drive to work, there's a park. And in the parks, they have those workout stations. They got the pull up station, they got the dip station, and whatnot. Like, there's guys, OGs out there doing that as well. I would think if you got guys who in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s out there doing that stuff, they're gonna be healthier than the norm. So is it what they're doing, or is it the fact that they're doing something?
I'll say they're doing something because I gotta give a shout out to TikTok. I know it sucks, but they've been putting us on blast for the longest because people have been posting video of what the Chinese do collectively in the public to promote healthy living a lot,
Mm-hmm.
far more than what we do. We have people dancing in group. We have people. The I don't know what that ladder thing they were doing. Everybody long line all up to here, doing that little exercise. It's like a ritual. Like they've always got something to keep people occupied and focused on their health.
Mm-hmm.
With that's their number one push. Community health is wealth compared to United States. Your health can make allow us to make money off you. We're gonna charge you higher rate for insurance and all that other. So it's kind of like an oxymoron
Mm-hmm.
if we think about it that way. Yes, there's some people are forsaking the Western medicine all the way through and taking Eastern medicine. They see that it's far more effective compared to all the rip-off been going on. Like, let's be honest. I wish I could find a way to get into Eastern medicine. I can drop my insurance. They screw you up because y'all been killing me. Y'all been charging me for what? For what purpose? And they not helping me. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Let's be realistic because chi chakra thing have been here far longer than Western medicine, and it have been affected, even though it hurt the I don't want to say it, the bottom line of the corporation.
Mm-hmm. You muted.
You muted. The mute assassin
Yeah,
got you.
yeah, good every time. But big America making money again. But we're finishing. Let's wrap it up. So, David, you want to go first? Paul, you go next, and I'll go
I,
last.
I then this is one of the very interesting topic between chakra and chi and ki. I think that is something I think a lot more people want to take their time and venture in and look at it and kind of research because it's not something I will say to just overlook. As a resident of New York City, I've seen it firsthand as a kid, and I can say, yeah, there's a reason why these ethnic group, the Asian group, have a much healthier living than we are doing because they're tapping into something that is more natural. That's something that we have walked away. I'm not saying to just go cold turkey and try it out. No, but do your homework. But find someone who can escort you or guide you through these subjects or these studies because it's a very interesting study to get in. And I'm not gonna lie, one of my favorite things is the breathing technique. The breathing technique is the fundamental of all study of chi, ki, and chakra. And I can do that so much to the point whereby I even learned how to lower my blood pressure so easy just doing it after doing it for the next 10, 20, or maybe 10 or 30 minutes constantly. It not only slowed down the pressure, it calmed the body to a level whereby it's unreal. So that's just the base getting to that realm of chi and chakra. But I'm not gonna lie, it's a very interesting content to get into. It's something to look into just in case you want to better your life and uplift yourself and your health. That I would say. That was my final thought.
Oh, you're up, man.
Well, I must say, coming into this conversation and even exiting this conversation, I admit I'm an agnostic when it comes to chi and chakra. At this point, I've seen some things. I'm still curious about some things. I'm just wondering if this is just simply another side of the same coin. Again, the difference between how we look at the physical body or Western medicine versus Eastern. Are we talking about similar things just from a different perspective? So I'm not endorsing nor rejecting the concept of these things. Again, certainly I follow martial arts, and chi seems to be a fundamental thing, especially when tapping into that energy for physical application. I've seen that over and over and over again. So there's something there. Can we pinpoint it and put a finger on it? Again, I think we're years, decades, if not hundreds of years away. But like I said, I do like the progress that's being made in Western medicine. And I hope that there's greater collaboration between Western and Eastern practitioners to come up with a series of ways to measure and calculate the benefits of practices, like I said, like cupping, like acupuncture, and grooming. I got to say, for a future show, what you might want to do is see if you know some people who've actually undergone these treatments and therapies, so they can talk about how these things may or may not have helped them. Somebody might have went and said it didn't do anything for me.
I will ask around. I'll put a post on my Facebook. Maybe somebody knows.
Yeah, so I mean, I would be interested to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would, and I'm talking about especially those who practice it from a modern perspective. Because like I said, a lot of these chiropractors and people are actually bringing it in. And so, it's, the technology is even in cupping now. You see the technology that's being used. I mean, when after the cupping's over, the guys look like, some growth happened on their skin or something. It looks pretty disgusting after they do the cupping and everything, because like all the skin just bulging out in purple and all that kind of stuff, whatever. But again, heat, energy, getting stimulus in certain regions or whatnot. I think there is some crossover that I hope that people will continue to explore. But I'm still not to the level of, and we haven't even talked about some of these other practices like crystals. We haven't talked about that, because a lot of people say, crystal manipulation affects chi and chakras as well. So again, I haven't heard of that. That's kind of going into, different areas there that, so obviously we don't have the breadth for it now.
That's something I have not heard personally.
You never heard the crystals?
How about you, David? Have you heard about that? David? Nobody can see you.
I haven't. No, I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard,
Hang on a second. Let me do this. There we go. That's a lot better.
Yeah, so I've seen even crystals, again, placing certain crystals at different points of the body to redirect energies. So that's something that I've seen over time as well. Again, we could be talking about similar things. Mm-hmm. The maps of the body of the again, even in our Christian faith, we believe that again there's a mind. I mean, there's a body, there's a physical body, there's a spiritual body, and there's a mind and a soul. So even then, if you want to get real technical about it, again, so you have the spiritual body. But it houses two things. It houses the mind, which is the thinking, the rational, but it also the soul, which is the seat of your emotions, right? Two separate sides. So again, we're even told it's like when you go by your emotions, you can get into trouble, following the emotional part, but the mind, the rational, the logical, the left brain part of a person is also housed within you. So again, we are complex creatures, you know, in some ways very different from any other animal in the animal kingdom. And so, you know, so again, I treat these areas not dismissively, but I treat them respectfully. I encourage people to have further exploration of that, and hopefully people can do it in a way where they feel they're not compromising their beliefs. Because at the end of the day, again, I'm always going to put on top of everything how you treat people. Again, love your neighbor as you love yourself. And so I'm always going to put that as number one. Any other practices and things that helps, anything that helps you be a better person that leads to those outcomes, I can get behind. And certainly I would encourage people to pursue any and all modalities that help them to be a better version of themselves so they can be a better version to those around them. I'm always going to encourage that. So with that, but this has been certainly an enlightening conversation. But I think, yeah, definitely getting people who've actually done this stuff, especially someone who administers it, that'd be terrific.
Yeah.
But someone who's even taken it,
look into it a little bit more.
That would be, I think, a very nice conversation to have, even for our gray area show. We get some folks who had acupuncture and cupping and things like that, and let them share their success stories or failures or horror stories about it. I would like to explore more of that in some coming shows and whatnot. So that's all I have. But again, thanks for the opportunity today.
Nah, dude, you're always welcome here. Thank you for the opportunity to have you on. Shit. So, schedule update. Tomorrow on the Gray Area, me and Paul will be talking about music, different cultures, Greek versus American.
Indeed.
And so on. Where's my schedule? Here we go. On Thursday, the Spartan Arena, we're going to be talking about the evolution of music. I'm going to have 2 episodes. So one on the Gray Area, one on my personal channel. Both will be on the channel, but a little different topics. I got Sean B coming on for that. I'm trying to get JT on that damn thing, but
yeah, JT being a DJ, yeah, definitely.
I can't get a hold of him. If you guys can get a hold of him for me, please, that'd be appreciated. And next Saturday we are talking about Reboot Revival. Why old school are making a comeback?
I hear you.
I hear you. That's what I'm gonna say. And I got a date for us, Paul. On the 11th, CQ Pop Culture Warrior will be our personal guest on the Gray Area, talking about his military, his comedic, and his pop culture stuff shows. Talking about his life. We're going to be interviewing him. We're going to go deep. We're going to talk about his injuries. Him shot 13 times overseas. How he survived it. How he's met his wife. Everything.
Right.
I'm going to embarrass him a little bit too, but that's the fun part, being his best friend.
There you go. Awesome.
Except that. David, anything?
Yeah.
Got anything last thing? Paul, last
Nah,
chance.
I'm good. I'm good.
All right.
Right now, I'm just hoping to land a job soon as possible. I can get back to working again.
You'll get it. You'll get it. Praying for you, buddy.
Oh, you got it, man. We got this. We got Black David. We got Mr. President. And, of course, the Ghost of Sparta, a.k.a. Grooming Reviews.
This is Sparta!
This is Sparta!
As always,
Mine was better.
Safe. As always, stay safe,